Hello viewers, my name is Maneli Silumbe from Unati High School. Welcome to the ECDOE Broadcasting Studio. Today's lesson is about human resources function. I will be covering this topic for your full understanding. Let's look at the first slide. I've tried to summarize all the topics that we'll be covering today. Recruitment. The first one is recruitment, selection, induction, placement, salary determination, and fringe benefits. Let's go to the first one. I always advise my learners that they should always start with the exam guide. The exam guideline is helping our learners to understand what is the outcome that they should know at the end of the lesson. It also help them that during their exams, what is expected of them. The first one is recruitment. The first bullet says explain or elaborate on the meaning of recruitment, outline or explain the recruitment procedure. First of all, candidates should understand what is it that they are talking about. The entire topic is about human resources. So which means that the business or the organization or the company is responsible for recruiting employees. So there are certain procedures that they should follow in order for the business to function optimally. The third bullet says, explain the meaning of job analysis. In that bullet, the third one, the moment a candidate sees that word or that concept, job analysis, they should know that there are two concepts that are attached to it. The next one says, differentiate or distinguish between job description and job specification as components of a job analysis. Those two, the job description and job analysis, are the vital or the most important components when you talk about job analysis. This next bullet says, identify job description and job specification from given statements or given scenarios. As we all know that in section B in our question papers, there are always scenarios. So a candidate has to be able or to be well equipped that he or she can identify or differentiate or choose from a given scenario the statement that is talking about job specification or the statement that is talking about job description. The next one, identify methods of recruitment, which is internal and external recruitment from given scenarios or statements. Now, during this process of recruitment, a business can decide that they want to use internal recruitment or external recruitment, depending on what they need for the business, since they have a vacant position. The next one says, explain or discuss or analyze the impact or the advantages or disadvantages of the above stated methods of recruitment. The last bullet says, identify or give example of sources of internal or external recruitment from given scenarios. So the moment you see that it says sources of internal or external recruitment from given scenarios, so learners must be able to understand what is it that when you talk about internal and what is it when you talk about external recruitment. And there are also sources that are attached to those. First slide is meaning of recruitment. So candidates must be able to understand that what is it they are talking about. That is the first one, meaning of recruitment. What is it? So in order for candidates to understand more about the topic, they must know or they should understand that what is recruitment. The first bullet, the process used by a business to identify certain vacancies in the business and attract suitable candidates for them. If you notice, and that's in that exam guideline, I did notice that there are internal and external sources whereby a business has to choose what is it that they want. And the moment you see that there are internal recruitment and external recruitment, we also should know that there are advantages and disadvantages of those. In other words, there is an impact. But we'll get to that in our next slide. The second bullet says businesses may choose to use an internal or external method of recruitment. The method they choose will depend on the nature or requirements of the vacancy. There are so many instances whereby a business can use internal or they can use external. Since I said there are advantages and disadvantages of those, depending on the human resources manager to choose or to identify that it will be suitable for the business to choose internal recruitment or external recruitment, depending on their needs. Recruitment is an ongoing process because employees leave their jobs for other jobs or achieve promotions, retire, as new technical skills are required. The last bullet, you can see that there is, for other jobs, there is also promotion, retire, as well as technical skills. There are people who have been working for certain companies that they don't want to adapt to the changes. So that last point that says new technical skills, those employees may not be able or fit enough to use the current technology. So which means some might retire. So which means they will leave the company and new employees will come in. Let's move to the next slide. Recruitment procedure. The HRM should indicate the job specification. As you can see, that job specification is in bold letters, and I just highlighted it for you guys. Key performance areas attract suitable candidates. We're still going to get to job specification and job description because those two, they go hand in hand. Choose the method of, the second bullet, choose the method of recruitment, e.g. external recruitment and internal recruitment to reach or target the suitable applicants or candidates. Since the human resources manager, which is the HRM, is the one who identifies that we are going to use internal recruitment or we're going to use external recruitment. So speaking of sources, there are sources that are used for internal recruitment and there are sources that are used for external recruitment. So suitable sources must be used to advertise the vacant position. The third bullet is, if external recruitment is chosen, the relevant recruitment sources should be selected, such as recruitment agencies, tertiary institutions, newspapers, electronic media, etc. Let's look at the first one, recruitment agencies. There are recruitment agencies whereby a company will choose that recruitment agent. It is whereby the company that needs or that has a vacant position will choose a certain company and tell them their requirements. In other words, the job specification and the job description. The moment they give a certain company of their liking, that company will come up because there are candidates who apply in that recruitment agents, and the company that needs a certain individual will give them job specification and job description, and the recruitment agents will look in their pool and select the individuals that are capable or that meet the requirements that are required by the company with a vacant position. The next bullet is vacancies can be internally advertised via internal email, word of mouth, office notice boards. That is very important since I just highlighted it for you guys. There are internal emails. If you are an outsider, if you are not an employee of a particular organization, you cannot have an internal email. It is only for people who are working for that particular company. The word of mouth, there are instances whereby there is a vacant position and people are talking inside the organization or the company. whereby there is this particular vacant position, and anyone who qualifies or who meets the requirements, which is a job specification and job description, can apply for that position. Then there is also office notice boards. Almost all the organization or companies out there, they do have office notice boards. It's whereby the advertisements, especially the internal advertisements, they are put on the notice boards so that employees who are currently working for that company, they can see the vacant position that has been advertised. External recruitment should be considered if internal recruitment was unsuccessful. Remember, the bullet that you just left that says vacancies can be internally advertised via internal emails. That means even though internal recruitment was used first, let's say within the organization, no one was interested for that position, or no one that meets the required standards, or let me just say the job specification. That means the company will look outside of the company since the internal recruitment was not successful. Place the advertisement in the selected media that will ensure that the best candidates apply. So which means that you have, as a human resources manager, you have to make sure that you advertise the vacant position in a suitable platform. Let's make an example. If you need people from outside, that means you're not going to advertise the vacant position in the notice board, because in the notice board, it can only be seen by the employees who are already working for that company. So which means the moment internal recruitment was not considered or was not used, or it was not successful, the advertisement must be done outside the company so that other people who are not working for the company or who are not currently working for the company can also apply for the vacant position. Let's move to the next slide. The meaning of job analysis. If you remember, I've been talking about the job analysis, and I said that there are two concepts that you should keep in mind the moment you see that word, job analysis, which is the job description and the job specification. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. The first bullet says a job analysis is a tool used by human resources function to source and analyze information about the business's workforce. This information is then used to place or recruit the right person in the right job. And there is one thing you also need to look at. In your notes, you should always, the moment you see that stroke there, make sure that you choose the word that is good for you or suitable for you, or the word that you like most. Because when you're writing your exams, you don't have to write both words. You just choose the correct one or the one that is favorable to you. The next bullet will talk about the job analysis and those two concepts I spoke about, which is a job analysis consists of a job description and job specification. Make sure you keep this in mind. The moment you see job analysis, job description and job specification should always be in mind. The employer must be clear about the nature or the type of work a potential employee will need to perform so that an appropriate job description and job specification can be prepared. So which means job description, it's whereby when you see an advertisement, the job that is vacant or available in that particular company is described, or in other words, it is explained. So as an applicant or a potential employee, I say potential employee because you will see that if you do qualify for that position, then you can put in your CVs. So the job is explained, what is it that is required by a candidate or an employee that is employed for that particular vacancy. Then job specification. Job specification, these two, they go hand in hand. Job specification is a minimum requirement. Let's make an example. Most jobs, they require people to have grade 12 or the matric. So this is the minimum requirement for that particular job. Anything that is more than that, it is an extra, or it is an advantage for the applicant. Let's move to the next slide. This is the difference between job specification and job description. We look at job description first. Job description describes duties, responsibilities of a specific job. So which means that the moment you see an advert for a particular position in that particular company, you will see that in their advertisement, they have to describe the duties. What is it that is needed from this person who will be applying? Then also the responsibilities. What are the responsibilities? What is it that you do? The next bullet says a written description of job and its requirements. A written description of the job and its requirements. A summary of the nature or type of job, so that if you apply, you do know what is expected from you. The next bullet says describes key performance areas. That is important. Key performance areas for a specific job. For example, job title, duties, working condition, locations of the place of work, relationship of job with other jobs in the business, etc. So which means the moment they write that job description for you, you also have to know which other departments that you will be working closely with. Let's move to job specification. It describes the minimum, that is very important, the minimum acceptance, describes the minimum acceptable personal qualities, skills, qualifications needed for the job. For example, that example I made, let's say for grade 12, let's say they need code 14, driver's license, let's say they need PDP. So at least before you apply, you will know that you can be employed at that particular company. But if you can see that you don't meet the minimum requirements, that means there's no need for you to apply. A written description of specific qualifications or skills or experience needed for the job. Sometimes or most advertisements or vacant advertisements for certain companies, they will say they need a minimum of 3 years of experience. It describes key requirements. In other words, the important requirements. For example, I just made grade 12 driver's license for a person who will fill the position. For example, formal qualifications, let's say a diploma or a degree, willingness to travel. For example, there was a company that I used to work for, especially that point that says willingness to travel. They would say your bags must be packed. So that simply means that you will be doing a lot of traveling for that particular position. The next one, it says work unusual hours. So that means you can be a night auditor whereby you are working from evening up to the morning, or your security, depending on the nature of the business. Let's move to the next slide. Now we're going to talk about methods of recruitment, sources of internal recruitment. And that is very important, ladies and gentlemen, sources of recruitment. The first one is internal emails, intranet, websites to staff. please make sure, let's take the first bullet. Candidates must make sure that they only choose one of those three. Because if you choose, let's say a question says, list 3 sources of internal recruitment, and the candidates writes internal emails, intranet, websites to staff. That means if you write all of those in the first bullet, you will only get 1 mark there. The first one will be marked, but the second one, it will be R, which is the repetition. Please make sure you choose only one. I always advise my candidates to make sure when they get to a point like that, they scratch the rest. They only choose one that will be suitable for them. Let's look at the second one. Oh, the first one, internal emails. I did explain this a bit in our previous slide that internal emails, remember we are talking about internal recruitment. Only people who are working for that organization that can have an internal email. The second one, intranet. Intranet, we can say it's a private internet. It's an internet for that particular organization or the company only. Websites to staff. If you are an outsider, you don't have access to websites for staff. Only staff members can access that. So which means internal recruitment, if a business decides to advertise a post within the organization, if they choose internal recruitment, they might use internal emails whereby employees can be sent the advertisement, or they can use intranet whereby you will see a computer in the staff canteen, for example. In the staff canteen, they usually put that computer there. So any staff member who is willing to go through the websites for the company, they can have access. The next one is word of mouth, which means they can actually say there is a vacant position within the organization, then people can apply. Business newsletters or circular to staff. And then the next one is internal or management referrals. The next one is word of mouth, which means they can actually say there is a vacant position within the organization, then people can apply. Business newsletters or circular to staff. And then the next one is internal or management referrals. Then this one, only the management or someone who is working for the company can refer somebody for that particular position. Let's say you are in different departments within the organization, and then your manager is impressed by the work you do. He or she can refer you to other managers, can say, hey, I do have Umanelis for that particular position. If you say, become a supervisor and all of those. So that is why it is under sources of internal recruitment, because a manager can refer someone in his department to work in another department if there is a vacant position. Office notice boards. We spoke about office notice boards. Only people who are working for the company do have access to that, and it is usually put in public places whereby employees or the staff members who are currently working for the company can see that there's a new paper or a new advertisement, then they can have a look at. Internal bulletin, recommendation of current employees. Then this one, the last one, headhunting within the business or within the organization database. This one, if you write only headhunting and you are asked internal recruitment, you will be wrong if you only write that. You must write the entire sentence, headhunting within the business, because you are being specific. The businesses, they do allow that as well. Headhunt someone. They are impressed by the way you do things or by the work you've done in the past. So the moment there is a vacant position, a certain manager can go straight to you and tell you that I need you for that particular vacant position. Let's move to the next slide. Now there is impact of internal recruitment. The moment you see impact, the word impact, it doesn't matter if it's a different topic. The moment you see the word impact, it is positives or negatives, advantages or disadvantages. And the other thing is you don't have to write the word positive or advantages. You can mix them up. If you know, let's say, one positive and you know two negatives, you can write a positive and a negative, mix them up. You will be awarded marks. If you are not awarded marks, you call me, I'll sort it out for you. Now, the first bullet, the business recruits existing employees through promotions or transfers from inside the business. Let's read it again. The business recruits existing employees because remember we are talking about internal. So that means the employee is already working for the company. Existing employees through promotions or transfers from inside the business. There might be a promotion. You are working for the company and there is a vacant position that comes up, whether it's a managerial position or a supervisor, and then they decide that certain employee is fit enough or he or she does meet the minimum requirements for that particular job. Then you can be promoted to that position. Opportunities for promotion, rewards good work, and motivates current employees, which is also important. Remember, you are working, let's say you guys are working for this company, let's say it's 10 of you, and someone is promoted within you guys, it also motivates current employees because they're going to say, one of our own started from the bottom with us. Now he or she is working, he or she is in a managerial position, which is good for the company. The next bullet, reliable or key staff members are retained. Reliable or key staff members are retained if they are promoted or transferred within the business. So which means if you are reliable, that means the management of the company, they do trust you with the job or the company processes and procedures. That means they trust you enough that they want to retain you and you stay within the company, and then they do promote you for the vacant position. Staff morale and productivity, which is the staff morale and productivity increases if suitable staff members are promoted regularly. There is that word that says suitable. So which means whoever is applying for that particular position, he or she must be a deserving person who has been working for the company. And that does increase productivity because employees now are happy. Even the individual who has been promoted to a new position, he or she is happy. That means the productivity will always increase. The next bullet, current employees understand the operations or the functions of the business. And the companies, let's say the companies won't promote someone who doesn't understand the business operations or the functionality of the business. They have to choose somebody who understands the business, who knows the ins and outs of the business. The next bullet, the business knows the personality, the strengths, the weaknesses of the candidate, which they use that to their advantage since they do understand what type of a person are we promoting, what type of a person are we transferring to a different company. The strengths, we're going to see these when we get to the negatives. The moment a business does know your strengths and weaknesses, they are always in a good space to say that if we promote that certain individual, we don't have to take him or her to training, but we can take him or her for certain training if it's needed because they do know your weaknesses. The recruitment process is faster, less expensive if candidates are known to the business. They're saying it's less expensive since, remember, you are using the sources, the internal sources. You don't have to go outside of the company or of the business to do your advertisements. You don't have to pay the newspapers. You don't have to pay the radios. You are just using what you have within the company. Let's remember there was headhunting within the business or within the organization. For that, you don't need any advertisement. You just need to go straight to the individual that you need for that particular position. You speak to him or her, and you tell them to apply, and then they apply. Hopefully that was clear enough for you guys. That is it for this part for the human resources management. Please join me for the next segment. We have come to the end of our lesson. You can leave your questions on the comments. Don't forget to leave the name of your school so we give shout outs. Please share, recommend, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. See you on our next lesson.